Take that, bear. Right in your bear nuts.
Ah!
Oh, Jesus. You have one of those, too.
Yeah, fuck you.
Dude,
I got a big one.
Bear fight would be sweet.
Uh,
Who wins in the armor fight, you know? Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck you with that leg kick, dude.
I love Bear. He's the best.
No, don't do it.
I'm gonna do it. It's a big old bear time.
I'll eat your face.
Ow.
Ah, see, I couldn't, what's the word? Capitalize on that launch. I was about to do something crazy. What? I fucking sidestepped that, dude. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, look at you.
I did a cool thing, man. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, that jab into the grab. Look at that.
The old jab grab. All right, welcome to the Good Games Podcast. I'm James.
At least you remembered the name that time.
Yes, I did. I'm getting better. What's your name?
My name is Leo.
Oh, and we got our blood pumping today because we just came off of playing some Tekken. We're going to be talking about fighting games today, specifically Tekken 7 and Street Fighter 5. This is the first time we've done two games as our main topic, but I figure what better than a fighting game to have two games go head to head, right?
Sure, and two of the most popular fighting games.
Yeah. Both of them are big. Both of them will be featured this coming Sunday at EVO, which is the other reason we're talking about fighting games today. If you're not aware, EVO is the biggest and most prestigious annual fighting game tournament. And Street Fighter 5 and Tekken 7 will both be featured Sunday on Finals Day, and also all day Saturday and Friday as well. But Sunday is the Finals Day. So yeah, you want to get right into this? Which one of these games are you more itching to talk about?
Let's talk about Tekken.
Let's talk about Tekken. So what is your history with the Tekken games? This is my very first Tekken game, Tekken 7.
Yeah. I did lots of Tekken playing in arcades, like back when people would actually go to the arcade often. You know, you'd spend some time at your local arcade and rack up some tickets. And played a lot of Tekken with my dad. And that must have been, Tekken 2 or Tekken 3 probably. So, you know, I wasn't a professional by any means, but I was familiar with all of the characters. That's my experience with it.
Yeah, this is my very first Tekken game, and this year has been kind of an awakening of fighting games for me personally, because my history with fighting games has previously just been the Super Smash Brothers series. You and I both were, I don't know, pseudo serious in competing in Super Smash Brothers. We went to many weekly tournaments. We went to CEO 2014, right?
Probably.
I also did Paragon Orlando. I did some tournaments at PAX. I did last year. I did CEO Dreamland. But this is the first time this year that I have taken interest in a non-Super Smash Brothers fighting game, a more 2D traditional fighting game. So earlier this year, I got into Street Fighter 5, and now the amount of fun I had learning Street Fighter 5 and I don't know, just learning all the mechanics and whatever with Street Fighter 5 has opened me up to trying more fighting games. So maybe 3 months ago or so, I started playing Tekken. Now I haven't put the amount of time into Tekken that I've put into Street Fighter. I don't know. I played through the story mode. I did a little bit of casual play with some of my other friends, but I haven't put a ton of time into playing Tekken. But I must say it has impressed me a lot. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the game for what it is. You know, I don't know. I am kind of a big fan of 3D fighters, and I'll embellish on that a little bit more later. But when it comes to 3D fighters versus 2D fighters, there's kind of a big difference in that 3D arena versus the 2D kind of flat space on how the games play out usually. And one of the things I think this game struggles with, to me, is a little bit of an identity issue, because it has to compete with games like Street Fighter. So, and it even showcases a Street Fighter character in the game. So it kind of has to cater to that audience while also still being having the 3D mechanics. And I felt like sometimes it was frustrating because it wasn't enough of a 3D fighter for me. But all that said,
really,
I mean, I do enjoy the game for what it is. I don't think it's a bad game, but I think I'm looking for something else when I play a 3D fighter.
That's interesting to me that you say this. You think this game suffers from like an identity crisis. I mean, I was surprised at how much, because I played through like the story mode. I was surprised at how much Akuma, the Street Fighter crossover, was present in Tekken's story mode.
Yeah,
he's almost like one of the main characters, and that was really surprising. Yeah. I wasn't expecting him to be featured in the story mode at all, but it never. I mean, I have nothing to compare this to. I can't compare this to Tekken 6 or 5 or 4, 3, 2. I have nothing to compare this to, but it didn't feel like it wasn't a Tekken game. Like, it never felt like a Street Fighter game, you know?
No, yeah, I don't think it's that drastic. It's just more like I'm comparing the game to 3D fighters such as Virtua Fighter, Soul Calibur, and Dead or Alive.
Yep.
Like, those 3 games are kind of like 3 of my top favorite kind of like 3D fighting games.
Oh wow, okay.
They I don't know, that the feel of how the 3D element affects the gameplay. And this is just as a beginner in the Tekken series. I mean,
sell me on this, because that's something I was really struggling with Tekken. I mean, I like the game, but I was struggling with the 3D versus 2D. I felt like that was like one more thing I had to keep track of. So, like, sell me on why 3D fighters are the way to go.
Well, okay, so, and I mean, let's use Dead or Alive as an example, because that is the game that I had the most experience with. Mm-hmm. So obviously, when it comes to having the 3D format, you're able to step, in and out of the screen, so you can sidestep your opponent's attacks. One of the things that I'm, at least as a beginner Tekken 7 player, that I'm experiencing is that process is not, I guess, maybe noob friendly. It's not explicitly important in the beginning. So maybe as you get better at the game, it becomes more important. But right now, I try to sidestep my opponents, and it feels like it's kind of slow or inconsistent. In Dead or Alive, like, sidestepping your opponent is a very fluid thing. I don't know. I think Dead or Alive, even, I might be mistaken, but even in some Dead or Alives, it was actually like different input on the controller to do it. Like, you can hold the button and then move up, and it'll just instantly sidestep you. Regardless, even if the input was not that much different, the action was just quicker. Like, it was such a big part of the game from the very beginning. So that element is a big difference from 2D fighters. And then kind of like Dead or Alive focuses specifically on, I wouldn't say like realisticness or something, or like accuracy with like your martial arts and everything, but in a way it does. Like, it specifies the specific martial arts that different characters use, and so each character has a unique style that you can actually visibly see in your attacks. And Tekken kind of does that, but the thing that Dead or Alive does differently is it like actually matters. People's like certain attacks might be slower but more powerful, and the way to counter that is one of the key factors of Dead or Alive is kind of this counter mechanic they have, where it's like, it's not just pressing back and blocking like a Street Fighter, like a 2D game, which is something Tekken is doing. It's like, just blocking doesn't really, I don't know, it's important in Dead or Alive, but the more important thing is to read your opponent's move based on that martial art that they're using. Like, kind of where their attack is going, and you can either parry up high or parry in your mid-center section or parry down low. And some of the Tekken characters have a parry mechanic.
Yeah, I think that's a universal mechanic in Tekken. I think that's a universal mechanic. Every single character has a parry. I think you have to like press forward and one of the punches or something. But it's
this is just as a new player. There's probably more to it if I were to get further into Tekken. that's not as like explicitly like the way I play Tekken now is just it feels kind of like 3D Street Fighter.
Well, that's good that you bring up Street Fighter because I want to start comparing and contrasting these two games a little more. And you spoke to the what was it that wasn't noob friendly?
The sidestepping.
Yeah, the sidestepping. So I think this is something both Street Fighter and Tekken are kind of guilty of, and I think this is a problem with uh, the larger fighting game genre as a whole. I do not think modern fighting games do tutorials well at all. Like they're all bad.
Yeah.
Like bad.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna criticize Tekken because I honestly don't even remember what the tutorial is in Tekken. Is there one even?
That's what I was gonna say. Is like I don't even know the tutorials always exist in these games.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible, and that's why. Because one of the biggest problems that I see facing fighting games is it's just hard to onboard new players into these games. Like
Yeah.
the people that play them are already really good at them, and it's hard to get new blood into the game because I mean, people pick up a fighting game, they get their ass kicked, and they're like, "Well, that sucked. I'm not doing this again," and then they just quit. But that's not the experience that you want. Like you want a really thorough onboarding system, which if that exists in Tekken, it's hidden, which is bad. Street Fighter, when you first launch Street Fighter, I think it teaches you some of the basic stuff. It's, you know, how to move your character, how to block, how to jump, whatever. Here's your light kick, medium kick, strong kick, and then all the punches, whatever. And then that's it. And then it just sends you running. It might explain some of the other high level concepts, but it doesn't go into detail at all. Now they have specific like character tutorials in Street Fighter, but the only thing those tell you are like how to do those characters' special moves. And in some cases, not all cases, in some cases, it'll tell you what some of the properties of these moves are. That to me is like the bare minimum that your fighting game needs to have as a tutorial. And I am targeting almost every fighting game, every modern fighting game. I have not seen a good fighting game tutorial out there. What I want to see is I want to see tutorials that start going into like game like okay, like in Street Fighter, it'll say like here's the Hadoken, right? You can shoot a fireball projectile. And here's the Shoryuken, right? And you do this motion, and then you jump up in the air. But why? Why do I want to do that? When should I use that? Like, I mean, I know that the Shoryuken is good as A, an anti-air attack, and B, a combo ender. But Street Fighter doesn't tell me that. Like the tutorial needs to tell you that. Like, this is good as an anti-air. And guess what? Now we're going to put you in a situation where your opponent is going to jump in, and you have to anti-air him successfully 5 times. Here's a very simple combo. You need to do this combo and then end it with the Shoryuken. And I mean, they do have some of that stuff in Street Fighter, and I'm pretty sure in Tekken as well. If you go into like the
kind of buried though, right?
Well, it's in the training mode. They have like a combo. Almost every fighting game does this, where you go into like the training mode or practice mode, and then it'll just have like a list of combos, and then it's just like, yeah, just do these over and over and over again. But like those are like, okay, so in Street Fighter, what they have you practice are like your max damage combos, but like, unless you like stun your opponent or your opponent doesn't know how to space and block, then you're not going to be able to use your max damage combo every single time. Like it doesn't. Street Fighter does not cover footsies. It doesn't cover the neutral game. It doesn't cover poking, counter poking. It doesn't like. There's so many things. There's so many concepts in Street Fighter that are integral, like really important to be able to like really understand what the meta is in that game and like really like take yourself from like a button masher and graduate to at least playing the game at like a medium level, which is where I feel like I am right now. But none of that stuff exists. So like your casual players are just content to mash buttons all day and they never learn the game and they get their ass kicked online and they just quit. Like that's a failure. That's a failure on behalf of all of these fighting games. Like that goes for Street Fighter, that goes for Tekken, that goes Dragon Ball. I've been playing a little bit of Dragon Ball Fighters. Maybe we'll talk about that game later. The tutorial is slightly better in DBZ, but it's still bad. Like it doesn't cover it. Like I want to see more situational stuff. Like anyway, yeah, that is my rant.
I was gonna say that. I mean, I completely agree. Like, I mean, I think that the developers of these games are just kind of lazy because they know their player base is the kind of player base that does this stuff through YouTube videos and through forums and stuff.
Yes. They've offloaded all of this stuff to like the hardcore players and burdened them with doing that. But here's the other thing that blows my mind. Capcom has like a character introduction series that does a pretty decent job of like, okay, here's Ryu. He's a very well-rounded character. Here's Ken. He's a more offensive oriented version of Ryu. He has a lot of the same moves, but he needs to play more offensively. Here's, whatever, Dalsim. He's more of a zoner. He wants to keep you out, whatever. These are just videos they put on YouTube. Like, why are these not in the game? Because that helps new players figure out what, like, the characters do and figure out like who they want to main. Does what I want to do in this game match with that character's ideal playstyle, Like put that in the game. Why is that a YouTube video? Anyway, got my blood boiling about bad tutorials in anyway, yeah.
I totally agree though.
Yes.
Totally agree.
The same thing with Tekken, because I'm actually very, very interested in learning Tekken and whatever, graduating from just trying random moves and whatever. But the way you have to go about doing that is like go to Reddit and look at the /r/Tekken7 and then like dig through all this information. No, just put that in the game. Like put it. Why do I have to open a separate thing? Anyway, go ahead.
We're too old for that, man. We don't have the patience to be going around trying to find all this data and these posts. That's why you did it with Street Fighter. Maybe you were bored one day and decided to look into it, but now you don't really want to like go through that whole process again with another game.
Yeah, I mean, like coming from Super Smash Brothers, I get it, especially coming from Melee. I get it, because that game is not really designed as a fighting it. It's designed as a party game, and the competitive community has come up with all these special rules and whatever to make it competitive. I get it. I get why there's not better tutorials in Melee. Coming into Street Fighter and coming into Tekken, I was expecting those things to exist. I was like, okay, this is a real ass fighting game. Like, I'm gonna learn me some fighting game. But it's the same thing. It just throws you into the game. It's like, good luck, have fun. I'm like, yeah, but I want to learn more. And it's like, yeah, well, just go to Reddit and like search around the community. They'll probably have some tutorials for you. Or anyway, yeah. It's a failing on modern fighting games. Fighting game developers, make better tutorials. Do it. Here's something that is true of both Tekken 7 and Street Fighter 5. Why are there obnoxiously long load times in both of these games?
Yeah.
Just really, really long load times. I mean, I get it, where these are like modern fighting engines, but like all you're doing is loading some character models in a background, right? Like, why is this taking so long to load? And the thing about Tekken that makes it even more egregious is Tekken has like a rematch button when you're playing casually that Street Fighter, like, okay, Street Fighter has like play again button, but it takes you back to the character select screen.
So annoying.
Sure. I mean, it can be annoying if you just want to keep playing without switching your character.
I mean, yeah, you should have two options. You should have go back to the menu screen or rematch.
Sure. And I think Tekken has that, but the rematch button keeps the same character and keeps the same map, but there's like a 20-second loading screen, even if you've just played a match. Like, what are you loading? Yeah. Like, you should have
20
all that
seconds
stuff.
That's generous. You're giving them a generous count.
Yeah, maybe. That may be generous. I don't... Oof. Anyway. All right. I want to talk a little bit about these games as consumer products, because I think that needs to be addressed in the case of Street Fighter. Because a lot of people, when they hear Street Fighter V, they just associate that game with its disastrous launch. So if you're not aware, Street Fighter V, I'm just going to say it, it was very obviously rushed and released way too early. There were, I think, 10 playable characters at launch. There was no single player mode. There was no arcade mode. There was no.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, yeah. This game got blasted at launch for. It was a bare bones game.
Wow, that's terrible.
And
that's terrible.
Unfortunately, I mean, it did the sales they got. It sold fairly well with competitive people because they didn't really care. Because I mean, it's got a versus mode and it's got an online mode, and they can play it competitively. So whatever, they don't care about the single player. They don't care about the arcade mode. They don't care about any other features, and that's fine. But what I think Capcom didn't realize is a majority of your Street Fighter sales are going to come from the more casual people, the people that just pick this game up and want to just mess around, either in single player mode or whatever. But that didn't exist at launch, and in addition to that, this game launched at $60, and like I said, there was only I think 10, maybe 12. I might be slightly exaggerating the initial playable roster, but not by much. And then they wanted, in addition to the $60, they wanted another $15 as like a season pass for the first round, for the first season of characters. And that has kind of been the business model for Street Fighter for a long time, until earlier this year when they launched Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, where they finally added that arcade mode. They had since added the single player mode in, and they also made the Season 1 and Season 2 characters free, which is what got me to buy the game. I was like, okay.
By the time I came in, I got a bunch of characters by the time I bought it.
Yeah. But yeah, that game has never really recovered from the disaster that it had at launch. There are some things that have vastly improved about Street Fighter. Like I said, they've added that single player mode. They've added the arcade mode. They've input lag. That was another big controversy at launch. There was 8 frames of input lag at launch. That has gotten better. I know at the time of recording there is another controversy about variable input lag in Street Fighter V, but it has at least gotten better since it was at launch. But I still, how does this bother you at all? How aggressively Capcom has priced their microtransactions in Street Fighter V, and how aggressively in your face they are? You have to buy every single alternate costume, every single alternate color, every single stage, every single if you don't have the new characters, you got to buy those. You got to everything is just nickel and diming you. You got to buy the music. You got to buy the. It's just ugh. It's just
well, they
gross.
They gotta try to recoup the revenue after messing up the launch so bad, man.
I get it, and we're probably never gonna see the numbers on this, but I think the way to do that is to make a better product, which they've done. They've done that with Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. I think this game is now arguably what it should have been 2 years ago when it launched. But I don't adding more microtransactions and just being aggressively gross about pricing and nickeling.
It's a lazy way to do it.
It's lazy, but I don't think that's effective. For people like me, that turns me off more than it makes me want to buy and play the game. What about you?
Yeah, but for 20% of people it does that, like you and me. But then the other 80% of people are, ooh, a new costume, and then they kind of buy it. So
yeah, and I actually will admit to purchasing quite a bit of additional costumes in Street Fighter V. I think the art design and the modeling team that creates these new characters and creates these new costumes, they've done a really, really good job with that. The models, for the most part, I think the character models and the animations in Street Fighter V are real slick. Now, I know there's some problems, people always complain about, Ken's face looks really weird, Alex's hair looks really weird. There's a couple of exceptions, but for the most part, I think, especially the animation is really slick in Street Fighter V. The only exception to that, and I've noticed this in Tekken as well, is they're using physics engines to simulate, clothing and hair and other things. Anywhere there's an object that could be physics enabled, that is not integral to frame data, throwing a punch or throwing a
Right,
kick or
like
making an
actual
attack.
character input data, kind of like
Yeah, that they're starting to use like physics engines to simulate that kind of stuff,
right.
and I think it's more successful in Tekken than it is in Street Fighter. In Street Fighter, like there's a lot of clipping issues where like the characters' costumes will clip into each other, and like hair will clip through costumes, and then like hair will start like bouncing around and freaking out, and like I don't know. There's a couple of characters like Mika and Nakali and a couple of the other characters just like they just look bad, and especially Fong, who has these like long draping sleeves. Just the physics engine just makes him look bad. Like everything's clippy and just ugh. Like that is the one thing I wish they would change about the animation in that game. Is just don't do the physics engine thing. Like
you
don't
know who
do
you
it.
got to look at for physics engines based like costuming and art is Dead or Alive.
Yeah. Now I'm excited about because I think we're on, what are we on now? DOA 6, I think, is the new one that is coming.
I don't know. Probably, yeah.
I'm excited about that because it seems like the development team is making a push to try to get DOA 6 taken a little more seriously as a competitive fighting game, because I know they've okay, when people think about DOA, they think about ass and titties. That's just a thing. That's a thing.
Boobies.
Yes,
jiggle.
exactly. Like that's what you think about when you think about that game. And I know they're making a conscious effort to tone down the sexualization.
Well, it's not all I think about. I also think about, a really rich combat system with accurate martial arts choreography and
Sure, but that's the second thing you think about and not the first thing, or at least
but then boobies.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if you tone some of that stuff down, then hopefully the thing people will think about when they think about DOA 6 is it's a really fun fighting game. So I'm interested to see what's going to come. Hope maybe we get a preview this weekend at Evo. I know there's some sort of exhibition tournament for DOA 6.
That would be exciting. I'd also like to see some new Smash footage.
Yes. I am hopeful that we will get one or two character announcements for Smash Ultimate. We'll see.
It's supposed to be like every character, right? So
every single character is coming back, but I have a feeling they still have a couple other character reveals up their sleeve, for new characters. Yeah. What else? Is there anything? Is there any other things?
Final thoughts on Tekken or something like or Street Fighter or?
Let's see. Tekken. I think Tekken's a really solid game. There's. I mean, aside from that whole rant I had on tutorialization,
right.
which
that's
is
every fighter. Yeah.
Yes, that's a rampant problem across all fighting games, almost all fighting games. I think Tekken's a really solid game. I love because I played Tekken after Street Fighter, and how it just grosses me out how aggressively Street Fighter monetizes everything, and then to go over to Tekken, and then on the flip side, just how generous that game is with its in-game currency. Like, it just gives you money constantly, which you can use to buy new costumes and new whatever. And this is not there is no way to take real money and buy these things. You have to play the game and get the in-game currency. There is no conversion between real money and Tekken's in-game currency, which I like that. And it was very generous with it. It was like, hey, play the game, and then you can unlock some cool costumes and stuff for your favorite characters. Which, by the way, I forgot to mention, I really like. Did you go in and mess around with the custom character thing, or the character costume customization options they have in Tekken?
No, I haven't messed around with that yet.
It's decently full featured, and it's good. I made some very dumb costumes. I mean, Tekken, I think both Tekken and Street Fighter have a sense of humor. They take themselves seriously, but they're never afraid to get a little goofy. But Tekken can ramp that absurdity up to a level that I don't think Street Fighter is comfortable going to. We just played a game where a giant bear hit a little girl, hit her with a giant salmon in a home run, a baseball.
Very silly.
It's extremely silly, but that sort of absurdist humor is reflected in a lot of the costume options that are available. Like you can just make like even the serious characters like Heihachi, you can just make them look totally absurd. Like, just put makeup on them, put them in, give them dumb hats and like outrageous, just absurd clothes. And yeah, it's good. I enjoy that. And it made me wish that Street Fighter had that, just a custom costume thing.
Yeah.
I would like to spend more time with Tekken. I think that's a game that I would probably enjoy getting better at. Yeah, I think Street Fighter is also good. There are a lot of really frustrating problems with Street Fighter, and almost all of them are not gameplay related. Like it's all about that game as a consumer product and how questionable that game is as a good product. Because I don't know.
I mean, like I think I agree mostly with your stance on Tekken, and with Street Fighter, I think that I just barely think it's good enough. Like
yeah,
I like Street Fighter the fighting, and then I hate everything else about it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that's pretty fair, I think.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, do you want to move into our top 5 today, which is going to be our top 5 fighting games?
Yeah.
So, top 5 fighting games. My number 5 came out this year, and it has taken the fighting game community by storm. It is incredibly popular right now. For the first time ever, at an EVO tournament, Street Fighter is not the most popular game by number of entrants. Ooh. It is instead Dragon Ball FighterZ for the first time ever.
Wow.
This is an incredibly popular game right now. I like it a lot, but I will confess probably most of the reason I like this game is just my attachment to the franchise of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much of a chance I would have given this game if it didn't have the IP attached to it. But even having said that, I enjoyed my time that I have played with Dragon Ball. I have not, similar to Tekken, I've not really put the time in to really try to learn this game and try to get good at it. I've mostly just played through the story mode and then just played casual games with friends. But it's good. If I were to offer one criticism about this game, I think the combo strings and the block strings are obnoxiously long in this game. So that means...
That's so accurate.
Yeah, so like once you start getting comboed, you're just kind of watching your character eat shit for like a long time, like 20 seconds sometimes. Just... like, and there's nothing you can do. Like, you're just watching your opponent just beat the crap out of you for a really long time. Same thing with the block strings. So sometimes if your opponent is attacking you, you just end up in a corner just holding the block button for a really long time. Anyway,
that's actually a decision I think they made on purpose. Like they wanted to make it casual player friendly. So they were trying to make it where like your character's doing cool stuff while you're just mashing, kind of.
Yeah, I actually really like the auto combo system. I mean, that might be controversial, but I really like the auto combo system in Dragon Ball.
I absolutely dig it. Yeah, it evens the playing field, kind of.
Well, yeah, and it lets somebody who has never played the game ever to just pick up a controller and start instantly doing awesome stuff. You can just instantly start juggling your opponent and doing cool looking stuff just by pressing just by mashing a single button, which is what I think a lot of fighting game newbies tend to do that anyway. Which is good. And also, before we move on, Dragon Ball FighterZ looks gorgeous. Like, hats off to Arc System, where they did a really good job with the animation in that game. Like, it looks exactly like the anime in motion. And no other Dragon Ball game can say that. A lot, especially like some of the 3D ones, just look, like they look really, but this, I think this is I'm pretty sure this is truly a 3D engine, because sometimes the camera will pan and rotate to show the full character model, but it always, like, it's shaded in such a way that it looks like it's a 2D thing. I don't know, whatever magic they're pulling with the character models,
It
looks
works.
great. So yeah,
Yeah.
great looking game, and a good game if you're a fan of the Dragon Ball franchise. Dragon Ball Fighters.
Awesome. My number 5 is a little bit of a gimmick for a fighting game, but I really enjoyed it. The game is called Dive Kick.
Yes, the game is called Dive Kick. I love Dive
Thank you.
Kick.
Okay, so this is a game that, like, and again, most of these games on this list have that same caveat that you said, where, keep in mind that, we may not have studied these games to the level of Street Fighter or Smash Brothers in how much we really became experts at the game. But Dive Kick was a game that kind of was making fun of fighters and that level of seriousness that people take with them, and learning all the key mechanics, but also at the same time was relatively deep in its gameplay. And the premise of the game is that there's only two controls, like jumping and kicking, but different characters would have different animations for their kicks, so there could be different lengths of, like, kind of like frame animations, and different ways they would kick across the screen, but it's all basically about jumping and dive kicking your opponent, and it's like one pixel perfect hit will get you the victory. So, like, there's no leeway for craziness. It goes straight to the point of, like, whoever hits you first, you're dead.
Yeah. The other thing I think most people think about when they think of Dive Kick is there are only two buttons.
Yes.
That's it. And no, there's not even a joystick, not even a stick. There's no D-pad. There are two buttons. That's it.
You jump and you kick. That's it.
So it really boils down fighting games into, like, just their core mechanics, which are like spacing and prediction, and
and I mean, and you could still move around left and right by just kicking.
Yep. Just jumping and kicking really quickly. You can kind of space your character.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty successful experiment too. Like that, even as simple as the game is, there's a lot of depth to it. It's good. It's a good time.
I really, really enjoyed my time for a game that only had two buttons. Yes. Like, I mean, it actually brings a lot of really good entertainment. So check it out if you haven't checked it out. Dive Kick.
That's a good one for people who are intimidated by fighting games in general, because a lot of them have, big long combo lists and lots of buttons and whatever. Dive Kick does not have that. It is two buttons and you die in one hit. So it's a good one for people who get intimidated by fighting games. My number 4, we just finished talking about. It's Tekken 7. I think that is one of the fighting games that if I spent a little more time with Tekken 7, I think I could really get a lot out of that game. I could see myself really enjoying the process of learning and trying to get good at that game. I don't know. It's good. It's very good. It's very good. It's a good game. It's hard to say. Okay, here. How about this? It's hard to say anything bad about Tekken 7. It's really hard to poke holes in that game.
Okay, my number 4. I kind of will bundle up in your number 5 as well. So it's like Dragon Ball Fighters or Fighter Z / Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden 3, I think it was called.
Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of like both, and the reason I say that is because Fighters was the first game of any Dragon Ball game made since the Super Nintendo that was actually good, into going all the way back to Super Butoden 3, which is was my favorite. So, like, I think Fighters definitely can take over the mantle there. But the key thing about them is, like, really, it's like the makers of these Dragon Ball Z games decided, like, oh, people want 3D ridiculousness, and none of that worked. And then now with Fighters, they've gone back to, okay, let's just go to, like, 2D fighting again, and then it's, like, so much better. But Super Butoden 3 was on SNES, and that was the first Dragon Ball Z fighting game that I really felt did a good job of kind of portraying making you feel like the characters in the game. There was actually, like, a flying mechanic, even though it was a 2D game. I forgot how the mechanic triggered, but you can do it in such that, like, you would jump up and the other character would follow you, and now you were fighting in the clouds, even though it's still just a 2D game. And just beautiful artwork that was very accurate to the anime series and stuff. And mostly these games, like you said, I play because I'm a fan of the show itself. So so yeah, just kind of Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden / Fighters, I guess, is my number 4.
Nice. It's a good game. It is very popular right now.
I didn't realize how. I mean, I definitely really enjoyed it, but it was one of those things where, you know, I'm not very good at it and everything, so I haven't delved
right.
into it too deeply. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously, I love the crap out of it.
My number 3, I referenced my history with fighting games earlier as mostly being Super Smash Brothers. This is a Super Smash Brothers style game, but it is not a Nintendo game. But it is very clearly influenced by Super Smash Brothers, specifically Super Smash Brothers Melee. This game is called Rivals of Aether. It is made by mostly one person, from what I understand. It is emulating Super Smash Brothers Melee's gameplay. So this means a fast-paced, like combo-heavy fighting system. There's wave dashing. There's DI. There's DI being directional influence. So when your character gets hit, you can tilt the stick to affect your character's trajectory. But it is really good, and I think it's kind of a shame that this game is not more well known, because I think it's really well made. Because I've seen a lot of, well, not a lot of, but there are a fair number of games that are emulating Super Smash Brothers and trying to be Super Smash Brothers. This is one of the more successful ones that I've played, that makes me really feel like the game systems are pretty in tune with each other. It makes me feel like I'm playing Melee. And one great thing I can say about this game is the tutorial is good, but not quite what I was describing earlier. But the tutorial is good in that it explains a lot of the advanced concepts that Melee does not. So it covers directional influence, it covers survival DI, combo DI, it covers wall teching, it covers wave dashing, it covers all these advanced. It covers dash attack canceled up smashes. It covers all these advanced techniques that are in Super Smash Brothers Melee and some of the other Smash games, but like they are things that are discovered and known by like the community. But of course, the game itself doesn't go over these terms or explain them or anything.
Oh yeah.
But Rivals does, and it has a pretty decent tutorial system. So yeah, if you like the Super Smash Brothers games competitively, specifically Super Smash Brothers Melee, check out Rivals of Aether, Aether.
Oh, that's funny that you had to spell Aether, because I play Magic, so Aether is like well known as a word. That's funny. All right. Well, speaking of Smash, my number 3 is the Super Smash Brothers series.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it might seem a little low, but it's because as much as I like this game, I tend to get my ass kicked in it a lot. So it's not one that is something I'm really proud of or anything. But I played one character and one character only, and that is Marth.
Yeah, that's a good character.
Who came into Super Smash Bros. Melee and has since been in every one since then. I mean, man, what can we say about Smash? Oh,
I'm dying to know what your number 2 and number 1 is.
They're good. They're really good. All right. I mean, we're going to have an entire episode about Smash Brothers. So
I'm sure at the end of the year when Smash Ultimate comes out. Yeah.
So I won't say too much, but suffice to say, we all know about Super Smash Brothers. We all love their wide varying cast and just the interesting game mechanics. It's not just your typical, drop your opponent to 0 game mechanics. And so we'll talk about it in the future. But yeah, Super Smash Brothers series is my number 3. If you've never played a Super Smash Brothers game, you're doing it wrong.
Probably wait a few months until Super Smash Brothers Ultimate comes out, and then buy a Nintendo Switch, and then buy Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Absolutely, and then play with me and James.
We're endorsing a game we've never played, but from everything that we know, that it'll be great.
Sure.
My number 2 is Street Fighter V, and that is extremely high for a fighting game that has had the problematic history that Street Fighter has, and I think it speaks to how much fun the game is that it is still number 2 on my list, even with the myriad of issues that it has become known and associated with. I mean, this game it's fun. Like, it's a lot of the same things that made Street Fighter 4 fun,
Yeah.
but they've made a lot of things slightly more beginner friendly. So a lot of the inputs and a lot of the combos are a little more beginner friendly, a little more lenient. So like the timings are not as strict on the combos, so that makes them a little more beginner friendly.
True.
I know that's a really contentious and highly debated opinion. The input leniency in Street Fighter V.
Everyone's always debating the things that make it easier for new people. What's up with that? Elitist pricks.
Yeah, there's kind of an attitude in the fighting game community that, like, if you don't understand it, just like get good, like just put the time in, keep practicing, get good. Which I guess you could say that about like Street Fighter 4 versus Street Fighter 5 and the input leniency. But like, I was having a conversation with my friend the other day about what we talked about earlier with tutorialization in fighting games. I'm like, man, these fighting games just don't have good tutorials. They don't. And he's like, well, players just need to get good. I'm like, no, fuck that. Like, fighting games need to get good. Like, they need to get better tutorials. Like, that's a huge problem that's facing fighting games is player retention. Like, when you get these new players in, they're getting their ass kicked and they're not understanding what's happening because the game hasn't explained how to play it.
Right. There's a balance. There's a subtle balance you have to have between kind of like making the game challenging for players who've put in the effort, but also making it so steep of a learning curve that new players just never want to try and climb that mountain.
Sure, yeah, like I don't know. Fighting games in particular are a genre that really need. I'm putting fighting games on notice. We need better tutorials. Anyway, what are we talking about? Street Fighter 5. It's great.
Noob friendly.
Tell you it is sort of. I mean, it is more beginner friendly than Street Fighter 4 was, for sure. Yeah, I think one of the things. I mean, the animation is really clean and smooth. The character models look great. I mean, it's a pretty looking game for the most part. Tell you what, though, here's a sign that I have really gotten to love Street Fighter. And one of the things that makes Street Fighter interesting is the amount of money and time and support that Capcom has put into supporting the competitive scene. Specifically their Capcom Pro Tour and all of the tournaments on that circuit. So all of the like streaming and all of the prize support and all the stuff that Capcom has really made Street Fighter enjoyable as a spectator sport. Just to watch the pros play Street Fighter is really enjoyable. And that kind of when you're watching these really good players play Street Fighter, it's like, oh man, that's amazing. I wish I could do that. And that makes you want to go back and play the game too. And I will tell you, it's a testament to how much effort Capcom has put into their into promoting this as a competitive game. That this is a secret. Don't tell anyone. I am more interested in the Street Fighter V finals at Evo than I am the Melee finals. Don't tell anyone.
Say it.
It's a secret. I am hyped for Street Fighter V finals. Like, I am hyped. Yes.
Good game. Okay, well, my number 2 is so good. It really could be my number 1, but it's called Bushido Blade.
Oh yeah, okay.
For the PS1.
Oh yeah.
No game has ever been made like Bushido Blade. And I think there's some people who are just really calling for a revival of that series. Mm-hmm. Which I would definitely be on board for that. Bushido Blade was good because it was, again, a 3D fighter, but the main premise of the game was the importance of weapons. Different characters had different weapons that were unique in their animations, like in their strategies for because maybe one of them would be kind of longer, like a polearm thing, and the other one would be like a sword, like a katana, And it was very much kind of Japanese samurai, that whole thing, which I'm a big fan of. But it had that concept of one clean hit and you're dead. Like just one strike can kill you, which was love or hate, but it was really effective. But you can also have like your arms and legs could be damaged, so you would suddenly be slower or go to one-handed sword fighting. And it had these just crazy, like, it was a 3D fighter, but it was across these kind of big environments where you could run through the trees like anime style, and go across some bridge, and actually have like load times between these different sections of the map, kind of like Dead or Alive, where if you push your opponent off of a stage, it'll kind of transform the stage and you'll go to like the next version of the stage, kind of the next level. So kind of like that, where like it just felt like you were fighting in this sort of anime centric samurai fighting game, but with really interesting strategic combat with the different types of weapons and their effective use. So yeah, I mean, as far as I know, most people that I talked to that have played the game loved it. So I am not sure why this game hasn't had a sequel or revitalization in recent years, but yeah, big fan of Bushido Blade. That's my number 2.
Nice. Very nice. My number 1 is Super Smash Brothers Melee!
Okay. Specifically Melee?
Specifically Melee, and I think the reason you're expressing surprise at that is because a lot of the time we spent playing this game competitively was with Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but more specifically a mod of Super Smash Bros. Brawl called Project M, which made Brawl play more like Melee, because a lot of specifically the competitive community was not satisfied with the mechanics in Brawl. The random tripping in Brawl gets called out a lot. Just kind of the game speed of Brawl is very slow.
Oh, yeah.
So Project M sped the game up, took a lot of the more party game style mechanics, like the tripping out, and added some more competitive stages, rebalanced the roster, made the Melee characters play more like their Melee counterparts, and made the new roster just overhauled their moveset and their mechanics to make them feel like Melee characters. And good goddamn, we played a lot of Melee and a lot of Project M, a whole lot.
So many Melee.
Yes, and it's at a certain point, this is not a lie, this is not an exaggeration. I calculated based on my in-game time for Super Smash Bros. Melee and my in-game playtime in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which was mostly Project M. I added those hours together, and I calculated how many hours that I have been alive on planet Earth. And at a certain point in time, 0.1% of my entire life has been spent playing Super Smash Bros. Melee and Super Smash Bros. Project M. That is a lot of time. 0.1%, and that's including like me being a baby before you have consciousness, and that includes like time spent sleeping. That include like 0.1 is a lot of time. So yeah, that speaks to how much fun that game is, that you can play that game for that long and still want to play it. Like, I want to go play some Smash right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think our call amongst our friends was just like, if we had nothing else to do, we'd just be like, Smash?
Yeah, Smash. Yeah, Smash. Yeah. You want to play Smash?
Just always.
Yeah, good.
I feel like playing Smash right now.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's stop this podcast.
Screw this podcast. Let's play some Smash.
So yeah, and that also makes me really excited for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I have no illusions that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is going to be another Melee. That's just not what that game is going to be. But I think that game has, more than any other game since Melee, been designed with the competitive fighting game community in mind. So I'm really excited to see what that game is going to become, and I'm sure I'm going to play the crap out of it. But
yeah, so don't screw it up, Nintendo.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that game a whole lot more, I'm sure, at the end of the year.
Oh yeah. All right, that's a great number one. My number one may sound familiar because it was so much fun that I put it on my top 5 twice in a row. It is Deadliest Warrior 2.
Get out of here! No, it is not. No, it is not. No. Get out of here.
It's not really my number one, but but I did put it on the list because I just want to talk about it again. That game is so good.
What? So wait, is that or isn't that your number one?
No, I mean I really did put it as number one on my list.
Oh my god. Mostly just to get your reaction. I mean, it's kind of a gag. Oh my god. Listeners, viewers, whatever we're called, go watch a YouTube video of Deadliest Warrior.
Listen, people, have we ever steered you wrong with this list? If you've played every game we've talked about in our top 5, you've probably enjoyed every single one. So I'm telling you, find a way to play Deadliest Warrior 2. You will not regret it.
You will probably regret it.
You might regret a little bit the next day, probably.
After about 10 minutes, you'll start regretting it.
I mean, yeah, realistically, if you were just to take my list and just shift everything up by 1 and put Deadliest Warrior on as number 5, that's probably more accurate.
Okay.
But I still wanted to. I just wanted to make sure I left it for last.
I was trying to figure out how Super Smash Brothers was your number 3.
Right. That's
so for the people who didn't tune in last week, what is
underrated
Warrior
games?
2?
Underrated games.
Yeah. Go listen to that episode, I guess. But for the people that don't feel like doing that, give a brief explanation of what this stupid game is.
It's a game developed probably by a couple of 13-year-olds who really liked the History Channel show called Deadliest Warrior. Was
that a History Channel or was that a Spike TV show? I feel like that was a Spike TV show.
Yeah, Spike TV show, in which the premise is that all of these famous characters like William Wallace and Vlad the Impaler and stuff had really cool weapons or something. I don't know. So the game, you get to choose these characters and play as them. And there's lots of gore and there's lots of chopping up off of like limbs, and there's ridiculous intros and really bad voice acting, and just pure unadulterated fun. That's what it is.
It's very silly. It is a good novelty. I will say that about it.
Well, I am nothing if I'm not the man who really appreciates novelty things. So,
God. All right, let's move on. What are you endorsing this episode?
This episode, last episode I endorsed the Wheel of Time series, which is my favorite book series of all time, and that got me thinking about playing the Wheel of Time role-playing game, which is a tabletop role-playing game, which I've never played any role-playing game ever.
Oh my god!
But now I've started kind of looking into this world and really getting kind of making character sheets and all this business. So I'm gonna endorse tabletop role playing games.
Hell yeah, that's a great world to get into. Yeah. If you get like a group of people who are really into it and want to do some role playing with you, it's a good fun time.
Here's the thing: you say that lightly, but really, that is probably the most important aspect. I think is finding the right people to play with.
Yep.
Because I've been invited to play with many people and hated the experience, which is why I never really delved too deeply into this world.
Yeah.
But now I'm, kind of taking my time, finding the right people, asking a lot online, and also looking into virtual play potentially with some of my friends in Florida.
Okay.
But so that kind of opens up the ability to play with people who might not be physically nearby. So it really gives you the opportunity to find the right people to play with, which makes you enjoy this world, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah, your game master, your dungeon master, whatever, that can make or break the experience. You gotta have a good DM.
Yeah. That's mine.
Excellent. I am going to endorse this weekend watching Evolution, the Evolution Championship of fighting games. Evo, it is more commonly known. Mm-hmm. Boy, that was a bad delivery.
No, that was good. You sold me on it.
Okay. No, I just mean my delivery was bad, not the endorsement.
Oh, okay. You want to try again? Or?
Yeah, take two.
All right, take two.
Hey, Hey guys out there, I am gonna endorse watching Evolution this weekend, more commonly known as Evo. Uh,
That was great. What's Evo?
thanks, thank you. I don't know why I had to do like a jackass voice in order to endorse. Hey guys. Um, uh, Evo, as we said earlier in the show, is the most prestigious and biggest whatever fighting game tournament, but it's a celebration of, I mean, it's a celebration of fighting games, but it's a celebration of video games and the people who play them, right? Because like these are some of the best video game players. Because okay, so if you watch stuff like Games Done Quick, you can see some of the best players of these video games in the world, right? Beating these games as fast as possible. But they're never competing with each other, and that they're never going to head to head. And I mean, yes, there are races at Games Done Quick, but they're just racing against a clock. They're not interacting in the game at all. They're not truly playing against each other. They're just playing against the clock, right? They're just trying to get a better time.
They're not staring into the eyes of their enemy.
Right, right. That's what fighting games are. This is truly a video game competition. This is celebrating the best video game players in the world in a format where they can definitively prove who is the best player. And it's the biggest stage, the biggest, most prestigious, blah blah blah. It's really a pretty awesome spectacle, and I'm excited to watch the games. I'm excited to watch the players. I've gotten invested in these scenes to the point where I know a lot of the players in the scenes. I mean, not personally, but I know of a lot of the players in the scenes. I know their backstories. I know their play styles, and I have favorites, and I have people who I'm rooting for to win, and I have people who I'm rooting for to lose. The villains of the scenes. So you got like legendary, like old school players like Daigo, who, if you don't know Daigo, just Google Daigo on YouTube, and almost
is that the Street Fighter guy?
Yes, he is the Street Fighter guy, and almost certainly,
I love that video.
Almost certainly, the first clip you're gonna see is from Evolution 2003, I think. Evo 2003, I think, is when it happened. He executed a full parry of Chun-Li's super at 0 health and came back to win the game.
It is amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, if you don't play Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, it's kind of hard to understand what's happening.
No, basically, not really. No, not really. That's the thing that's great about it. I was gonna say, that even if you're not a fan of these games or like really into the strategy or anything, you can watch a video like that. I did, and I didn't really know the mechanics, and still just feel the importance of those moments.
Exactly, but I think a lot of the importance of that moment is sold by the crowd reaction, right? Because the crowd just starts going, ah, and just starts losing their mind, right? Because the cool thing that's happening, the unspoken thing that is cool about this, is Daigo is parrying every single hit, and the hits, the parry in Street Fighter 3 is like, I don't know, a few 60ths of a second. So the timing is incredibly strict. And Daigo knew the timing for this super down perfectly, and anyway, he will be also he and his opponent in that clip, Justin Wong, are both really storied and have very long careers in the fighting game community. They will both be competing in Street Fighter V this weekend, so I'm very excited to see them. And I'm actually going to drop a bomb on you. You probably don't even know about this.
What's that?
I am also going to endorse going to a website that I created called Evo Madness.
Okay.
So I was inspired by earlier this year. Obviously, when the basketball tournament is going on, they call it March Madness, right?
Yeah.
And the sort of the thing that, if you're not familiar with college basketball or sports in general, I guess, sort of the common practice is, once the bracket is set for the NCAA college basketball tournament, to try to predict the bracket. So you have, I think in the NCAA tournament, I think you have 64 college teams, and you're trying to predict the winner and loser of every match at every step. And then you're trying to predict, the overall goal is to predict the winner correctly, but you're also trying to predict the result of every match correctly, the winner and the loser.
Right.
So I thought, why not do that with Evo?
It's a great
so
idea.
I created a website called Evo Madness. The URL is evomadness.azurewebsites.net/home. And I will probably put it in the YouTube description thing, so you can go there and participate in our bracket along with us. So now, some of you may be thinking, wait a minute, don't you have to know who is going to be in the bracket? Yes, that is the big problem with doing this. So the bracket will only be set after pools and semifinals are completed, which is going to be Saturday night. So that if you want to participate in this, the timing window is going to be very strict. So you're going to have to go to this website either late Saturday night, so that's this Saturday, August 4th, or early Sunday morning, which is Sunday, August 5th, before the Melee finals start. So the 3 brackets we're going to try to predict, we're going to do the top 8 for Super Smash Bros. Melee, the top 8 for Tekken 7, and the top 8 for Street Fighter 5. So you can compete along with us and try to guess and see if you can make a more accurate bracket than we will.
That sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to be joining in for that.
Yeah, I will remind you. Okay. So that is evomadness.azurewebsites.net/home. Go watch Evo. It's a good time. Here's the other thing I'm excited about for Evo. I mentioned earlier, I hope there's some character reveals for Smash Ultimate. Right. I'm hoping there will be some character reveals for maybe Street Fighter 5. Sure. We know the next character is going to be G. Hopefully they make him playable. Maybe we get a date for Sagat. Maybe we get a sneak peek at some of the Season 4 characters. I know there's been some DLC rumored for Tekken 7, another wave, Season 2 of DLC for Tekken 7 for a long time. Maybe that'll get announced. Maybe Mortal Kombat 11 will get announced. Whoa. Maybe we'll see some new stuff for Soul Calibur 6. Yeah. Maybe we'll see some new stuff for DOA 6.
Oh!
It's a big celebration of fighting games. It's going to be awesome. That is this weekend, Evo. Sweet. Watch it!
All right. Sounds good.
All right, and that's our show, right?
Yeah, let's get the hell out of here. I got to go eat dinner.
All right, we suck and we don't have our next episode planned yet, but we will do that as soon as we sign off.
All right.
So for the Good Games Podcast, I am James.
I'm Leo.
Goodbye!
See ya. How good do you feel about beating up a panda? Come on, man.
Oh, I feel great about it. Fucking oh no!
What? That makes no sense.
The punch beats everything. It has armor on it. It has armor on it. No. Oh yeah.
How do I counter this? Oh man.
Holy hell!
How do you do that? Okay. Yeah, let's do that over and over. Oh, that was awesome.
Oh God!
That was so broken. Oh man. Yeah.
Balls!
I hope this does a lot of damage.
Here comes the fire!
Damn it.
Oh, that counter hit. Oh.
Yeah. God damn it. Fuck you. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Oh, there it is. Oh, nope.
No, you got this, right? Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
I'm figuring out how to play Tekken, I think.
Find the bullshit armor moves.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh!
Jesus. All right, that's enough of that.
Okay.
Let's get this.
That's good shit.